Cases like this one come under scrutiny, intense scrutiny, detective minds, social media sleuths combing through every single detail, shaking every single tree until something comes loose, somebody talks, something is shared. Well, tonight we are picking the brain of a private investigator who digs through major criminal cases. Andy Kay is the owner of Kay and Associates Investigations, joining us live tonight to talk about this case and also two others that we're following closely on Missing in America. Andy, thanks for your time.
No problem. Good to be here.
Let's start with the Laundrie case and the search. What stands out to you and what missing pieces would you be chasing right now?
I would be looking at further connections with the family. I think that everybody's kind of in agreement that the family knows more than they've come out with. And obviously now they're coming forth to the father, especially to at least seemingly act as if he's been on this side of the case the whole time. And I think there's probably a little pressure to keep him there.
It's all speculative, and so I'm very careful in asking this question. But Brian Enton, our correspondent, asked Northport Police, do you think Brian Laundrie is alive? At this point, it's a terrible thing to think about. But if he's not alive, don't you think they would have found him by now?
That depends. It depends on what his demise, if it actually has happened, would have been. If it was by his own hand, if he went and there's a lot of coastline in Florida. There's a lot of ways to disappear if you want to, end your life. So it just depends on if that did happen, maybe, maybe not.
How about all the digital data? I know that's an area of your expertise. How does that help in understanding kind of the last moments that either Brian was seen or the last moments between Brian and Gabby?
It depends on when Brian and Gabby were together, probably not a lot of digital information there because they were in the company of each other. So there probably wasn't any digital communication that took place. So we're always interested in getting telephones, seeing what the last communications were. If they contacted somebody else and said, hey, this is what's happening, I'm afraid that I went with this person, depending on what the case is, you want to get any of the information that's stored in a phone or a computer, email, through the internet, social media, if that's what they're using. You want to know the state of mind of the person you're looking for. Or that has disappeared. You always want that information, but in this case, I don't know if, as far as with Gabby and him, it would have been that important.
It's maybe more important, his communication with his parents in those last couple of days. All right, Andy, I want to turn now to another case that we've been following in our Missing in America series. This is the disappearance of Lauren Cho. She's 30 years old, from New Jersey, took a cross-country trip with her boyfriend, ended up in California near Joshua Tree, and walked away from an Airbnb, according to those who were with her, out into 110-degree heat into the desert. She has not been seen since. It has been more than 100 days since anybody has seen Lauren. So that's the story. This is your area of the country out there in Southern California. What can you tell us about this location and some of the challenges to try to figure out what happened to Lauren?
The desert is a very bad place to end up lost. It's very hot in the day and it gets very cold, surprisingly, at night. So anybody that gets lost in the desert, if they don't have any survival skills, if that's what indeed did happen to her, if she just wandered into the desert, it could be a very long time before anybody finds anything of her. In the wilderness, in the desert, I've been on many searches. I grew up in the mountains. Sometimes it's years before something turns up.
What do you think about the fact that Lauren, and also the case I'm going to talk to you about in a moment, these young people have walked away without their phones, without their wallets, without any money, and then they just disappear? I mean, I don't know really anybody who's not carrying their phone around these days. How does that land with you?
It's definitely suspect. If they left a certain person with those things, then you want to look at that person for sure. But if somebody's trying to get away, escape a situation, move on to another point in their life and be rid of whatever situation they're in, they would lose that. That's an electronic leash. It takes us to you. So they would want to lose those devices if they are trying to get away.
Right.
I'm not saying that's what happened in this particular case, but when that happens, that's one of the things we consider.
Yeah, a lot of questions around Lauren. All right, Daniel Robinson is another case, Andy, that we have been following. He disappeared in the Arizona desert. His car was found. His father has now traveled out to Arizona trying to look for him. He's 24 years old, a geologist. He was out there following his dream. Police have handed over all of the evidence now to a private investigator that the family has hired. What does that tell you about the status of their search for him?
It tells me that they don't believe a crime has taken place. So they're looking at it as a missing person or a lost person. I'm familiar with this case a little bit also. I know that this phone was also there, his wallet, his ID. However, I do not think that he walked away from those in that case. The car was in a pretty serious accident. The airbags were deployed. It's upside down. He's a geologist. Arizona desert is full of great places to go look for different kinds of gems and minerals. So if he was doing that and got in an accident, he was probably disorientated, probably wounded. Who knows if he was taken by somebody that happened upon him, or if he too is, somewhere maybe wandering around in the desert until in June. It's not likely that you're going to last that long if somebody doesn't find you.
Well, his family desperate for answers, as so many are. Andy Kay, appreciate your time tonight and your insight. 3 cases that we're going to continue to follow together until we get some answers. Thanks.
My pleasure.